Welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to detect lateral movements on the network or pivoting attack anyway, which I showed you in episode 60. Before we do anything, I want to install Sysman on this Windows 7 professional machine. Sysman is free software from Mark Russinovich with sysinternals that now belongs to Microsoft, allowing to detect system changes to a certain configuration. I installed it so now we can move to create a payload with MSF Venom. I'm going to attach a Meterpreter reverse shell payload here. Very familiar reverse TCP shell. The listening host will be the IP address for our attacking Kali machine. I never remember it by heart, so. The listening port will be 999, which being a reverse shell is the reverse for 668. Guess what? Alright. I wanted to perform initially 200 iterations and exclude back characters, of course. But then I realized there was something wrong with the number of iterations or something else. I now realize I made a mistake. I didn't escape the second single quote under the back character parameter. So that caused the error that you're going to see here in a while. You see that the encoding fails. That's because my command was wrong. Alright, I corrected the error and reduced the number of iterations. At the end of the day, these are my virtual machines, so I'm good at. Let's now move the executable to the web root directory. And let's start Apache server. Okay. We're now ready to exploit the Windows 7 machine, but first we need to set up a handler for our reverse connection from our virtual machine with Windows 7 to Kali. Let's clean up a little bit of stuff here and moving back to Kali, we need to create the options for the so-called multi-handler exploit. We need to attach a reverse interpreter shell here as well. That's what we need it for. And we know we need two options here that need to match exactly the options we set up for MSF Venom. So we need to change here these two parameters, lhost and lport. Now, lhost will be the IP address of our Kali machine, which is this one. And lport will be 999, as already explained. Here, because 4444 is too predictable, everybody knows it's an interpreter port. So I normally choose a different port than that. Let's now run the executable from the victim machine and run the exploit command from Kali at the same time. Okay, so we're good to go. Let's save it first for safety's sake, so we can rerun it in case the first attempt fails. This virtual machine tends to be a little slow, so I'd rather have it on the local disk already. Okay, we're now good to go and we can do the thing here. And the shell popped, but it's we got our shell. Nice. I'm going to go ahead and start my vulnerable XP Service Pack 2 machine that I keep on a separate internal network accessible only from this hacked Windows 7 machine, because otherwise it will get crushed in a matter of seconds. So if we go with the sysinfo command, we notice we exploited the Windows 7 machine. It doesn't belong to any domains, by the way. I'm now going to migrate to a more stable process in order to prevent our shell from dying. I hate to have to re-exploit the whole thing from scratch again. Let's now background the session and let's attack XP. But the first step we need to do that is to understand what local subnets are on Windows 7, because it's multi-homed. In fact, as you notice, there are two different subnets, a /28, which is internal, and a /24, which is bridged. The bridged mode is accessible from outside. The internal one, the /28, is only accessible from Windows 7 and not from Kali. So we add the manual route to this internal subnet in order to reroute our attack through Windows 7. In fact, you see that the gateway is session 1 that we have with Windows 7. Okay, we're all good to go. I already know this virtual machine, that's why it's named Vulnerable Windows XP. It's vulnerable to a specific infamous exploit, very old, honestly, called SMB080067 NetAPI, which allows practically a buffer overflow. So let's now change the options here, and the most important options we need to change are in the end only one, which means the remote host. I assign the static IP address to this machine. This time the payload will be different, will be a bind TCP shell and not a reverse one, because a reverse shell couldn't be capable of reaching out to Kali as it's in a different network. So let's now launch the exploit. Our first attempt was successful, but I always tell everybody that you need to be resilient and greedy if you want to be successful as a penetration tester. In fact, I never give up, so I tried again and again, because it has to work. This machine is vulnerable, I know that already. And in fact, This time we should be able to get a shell, and there we go. We popped another shell. Great. In fact, if you have the sysinfo command, you notice that now we are inside Windows XP, no more Windows 7. We can easily achieve the privilege escalation because there's no such thing as user access control in Windows XP. My session died, so I had to re-exploit sadly the system, but that's no big deal, like I said. I know it's vulnerable, so it's only a matter of try and try. As a matter of fact, I went back to Windows 7 and achieved the privilege escalation on it, which I didn't do before in order to generate more audit trails. I'm going to migrate to another process more stable than the executable we used to perform the attack. And now we're going to load the MiniKatz extension, which is used to crack passwords. Here you see we have some landman hashes, but those are disabled in Windows XP. They were enabled in earlier systems. You notice we have Kerberos passwords too. There are several commands available in MiniKatz, which is an extremely powerful tool to crack passwords. In fact, these are very weak passwords, but even if they were super complex, they will be cracked. It's not a problem for MiniKatz. It's a pretty scary tool. Let's now dump the hashes from the SAM file. These hashes can be fed to John the Ripper, for example, and easily cracked. They're not extremely complex passwords, to be honest. So I already showed you in episode 31st how to crack passwords with John the Ripper. I was unsuccessful with timestamp trying to change log file MAC attributes, but I don't know why there's a bug with Windows 7 especially that doesn't allow you to change anything. At a certain point I got tired of re-exploiting system and set up persistence. That's why you see more and more shell coming up. We got another privilege escalation, and I couldn't achieve a successful timestamp command, but I was able to anyway run this specific command that disables less access timestamp. So at next reboot, it'll be executed. I was considering at a certain point to shut down the system or restart it remotely, but that would raise too much red flag, so I decided not to do it. So that's the error message I get with timestamp. I need to investigate on this. Let's now analyze the logs created by sysadmin. In older versions, they are mixed up with the system files. Now, as viewing event in event viewer is pretty uncomfortable and cumbersome, I created this PowerShell script to retrieve event IDs, and I added a line that's optional if you have sysadmin enabled that allows you to retrieve sysadmin logs as well, and specifically certain critical event IDs among them. So let's now run the script, but first I want to show you what change I made here. In my case, this line is not commented out because I need to run the script and retrieve sysmon logs. So bear with me for a second, guys. This is an error message, but it doesn't mean any issue with the script or any syntax errors. It simply means that we couldn't find any specific event IDs in the system logs corresponding to the ones we have in the script, which can be a good thing if you want, but that's not exactly an error. Let's analyze sysmon logs within this CSV file we create. That's the whole point of this script. I mean, that's why I created it, in order to have a file like this that I can easily analyze. Now you'll notice a series of messages. Apparently they don't mean anything specific, but they are very, very interesting and alarming too. I'm going to show you at the end a reference explaining the exact meaning for each one of them. And that is the evidence that we had lateral movements in the network, and in fact we performed a pivoting attack from Windows 7 to Windows XP. You'll notice the user ID S1518. In this case it's normal because we're talking about local accounts and not domain accounts, because these computers don't belong to any domain, so neither 7 nor XP machine are inside any Windows domain, so we only have local accounts here. That makes perfect sense. But normally you would be alarmed if you saw something like this. I mean, it's not normal. Okay, let's now do something else and analyze the output from test kill, redirecting to files so we can understand what running processes are involved in the system logs. Okay, now we can analyze the output file. You'll notice a series of event IDs, all of them related to this process ID belonging to sysmon64. And this makes sense. Anyway, the reason why I choose to save files as a CSV format and viewing them in Excel is because I can filter them. So let's apply a filter to that column and only see the events related to the other event ID we have here. Let's now look for that event ID within test list output. And lo and behold, we're not able to find it. I think this process might be inside svc host.exe because that process launches a bunch of other Windows processes stored within it. So I'm gonna have to analyze these processes with a specific command. And in fact, we know this event ID, which corresponds to svc host.exe. Anyway, I promised you to show you a reference explaining the meaning of those events, and you'll notice here how scary they might be. For example, network connection identifies something like command and control servers or lateral movements in this case. Okay, that's all I got for today. Bye bye.